In a cozy, sun-drenched corner of the world, nestled between the roots of a great old oak tree, there lived a little slow worm. Now, a slow worm is a gentle creature, smooth and long, like a shiny piece of earth. And this one was particularly gentle and particularly shiny. But this little slow worm had a very big dream. A dream that made his tiny heart feel both fluttery and full. You see, he did not dream of being the longest worm or the best at hiding under rocks. No, the little slow worm dreamed of being a dragon. A great, magnificent, soaring dragon with shimmering scales and wings and yaws that could brush the clouds. A dragon with a mighty, rumbling roar that could shake the very stars. He would look up at the sky and imagine himself flying, a dark shape against the bright blue, and a little sigh would escape him, for he felt very small. He had no wings to speak of, and his voice was but a soft whisper on the wind. The other creatures of the meadow, while kind, would sometimes offer gentle, puzzled remarks. The bumblebee would buzz that he was perfect just as he was, and the ladybug would point out how wonderfully he could wiggle through the grass. But their words, though warm, could not quiet the longing in his heart. He wanted to roar. He wanted to soar. He wanted to feel the fire of belief burning inside him. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, the old and wise badger ambled past the slow worm's rooty home. The badger noticed the little creature's sad, droopy posture and the way he looked, not at the beautiful sunset, but at his own long, wingless body. The badger spoke in a low, rumbling tone, not with words of doubt, but with words of wonder. He told the little slow worm a secret, a legend of a place not so far away, a magical place called the Volcano of gently bubbling feelings. It was said, the badger explained, that this was no ordinary volcano of fire and rage. Oh no. This was a volcano filled with the warm, glowing magic of self-belief. And it was said that any creature, no matter how small or how unlikely, who truly believed in themselves from the very tip of their nose to the very end of their tail, could awaken the volcano's gentle magic and make their greatest dream feel real, if only for a moment. The little slow worm's heart gave a hopeful little leap. A spark, tiny but bright, flickered inside him. This was it. This was his chance. He thanked the wise badger with a grateful nod of his head and, with a newfound determination, he set off right then, slithering and sliding through the dewy evening grass towards the distant hill that cradled the legendary volcano. The journey was an adventure all its own. The world was full of sounds and sensations. The grass whispered secrets against his smooth scales as he moved through it. The earth beneath him felt cool and soft. He could smell the sweet perfume of evening flowers opening up to the moon and the damp, rich scent of the soil. He travelled under the silver light of the rising moon, its glow painting a path for him to follow. His heart was beating a rhythm of excitement and nervousness, a little drumbeat of courage pushing him forward. Can you feel your own heart beating with excitement for our little friend? It's a steady thump, thump, thump full of hope. After a long and wiggly journey, he arrived at the base of the volcano of gently bubbling feelings. It was not a scary, sharp mountain, but a large, round hill with a soft, curved top. From its peak, a gentle, warm mist rose into the air, smelling of cinnamon and sunshine. And if he listened very carefully, he could hear it. A sound. A soft, soothing glug, 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 like a giant, contented pot of warm honey. It was the sound of feelings bubbling gently, just as its name promised. The little slow worm felt a wave of calm wash over him. This was a place of good magic. He began the long, slow climb up the side of the volcano. The soil was warm and crumbly under his belly. He pushed on, higher and higher, until at last he reached the very rim. He peered over the edge, his eyes wide with wonder. Below him was not boiling rock, but a swirling, glowing pool of liquid light, shimmering in shades of gold and soft pink. It bubbled and bloomed like 1,000 glowing flowers, each pop releasing a puff of warm, happy air. This was the heart of the volcano. This was where belief became magic. The little slow worm took a deep breath. This was the moment. He had to believe. He had to believe he could be a dragon. He scrunched up his little face, squeezed his eyes shut, and pushed with all his might. What came out was not a mighty roar, but a soft, squeaky little sound. The glowing pool below merely bubbled gently in return. His heart sank. He tried again. He thought of big wings and sharp claws and fiery breath. He pushed again, straining every muscle. Another tiny squeak, even softer than the first. The pool continued its gentle, glugging rhythm, unaffected. A feeling of sadness began to bubble up inside the little slow worm. Not a gentle, warm feeling, but a cold and heavy one. The spark of hope inside him felt like it was sputtering out. He couldn't do it. The badger was wrong. The legend was just a story. He was just a slow worm, a legless lizard, a creature of the earth, and he would never ever be a dragon. He slumped down at the volcano's rim, feeling smaller than he had ever felt before. The weight of his disappointment was a heavy stone in his belly. He lay there for a long time, listening to the peaceful glug-glug of the pool. He listened to the soft whisper of the warm wind. And as he listened, his big dream began to feel less like a wonderful fantasy and more like a cruel joke he played on himself. Why couldn't he just be happy being a slow worm? Why did he have to want something so impossible? A single shiny tear rolled down his smooth cheek and plopped onto the warm rock below. But what the little slow worm didn't know was that the volcano was listening. It was listening not to the sounds he was trying to make, but to the feelings inside him. The volcano of gently bubbling feelings did not respond to loud noises. It responded to true hearts. And it felt his sadness. It felt his heavy disappointment. The gentle bubbling of the pool slowed, and the glowing light dimmed just a little, as if the volcano itself was feeling sad for its little visitor. Just then, a tiny field mouse, startled by an owl's hoot, scurried right past the slow worm, tripping on a pebble and tumbling towards the steep edge of the volcano rim. Without a single thought, without a moment of hesitation, the little slow worm moved. He uncoiled his long, strong body and shot forward like a slippery ribbon, wrapping himself around the little mouse just in time, acting as a living, breathing rope to stop the mouse's fall. He held on tight, anchoring them both safely away from the edge. The field mouse, her heart pounding like a tiny drum, looked up at her rescuer with enormous, grateful eyes. She didn't see a failed dragon. She didn't see a creature who couldn't roar. She saw a hero. She chittered her thanks, her voice full of awe and admiration, telling the slow worm how amazingly fast and strong and brave he was. She told him he had moved like a flash of lightning, so powerful and quick. And in that moment, something shifted inside the little slow worm. As he listened to the mouse's grateful chitters, he wasn't thinking about wings or fire. He was thinking about what he had just done. He had been strong. He had been fast. He had been brave. He had helped someone without even thinking about it. A new feeling began to grow in his chest, warm and solid and real. It wasn't about what he wasn't. It was about what he was. He was a helper. He was a protector. He was strong and he was quick and he was brave. He looked back at the glowing pool, not with a desire to be something else, but with a heart full of pride for what he already was. He felt a belief in himself, a true and honest belief, welling up from his toes to the tip of his nose. It was the most powerful feeling he had ever felt. It was his own magic. He didn't need to scrunch his face or strain his voice. He just took a deep, calm breath, filled with this new, wonderful feeling of self-belief, and he let it out. And from his mouth came a sound. It wasn't a squeak. It wasn't a roar. It was a deep, resonating, confident a hum of pure, powerful self-belief. It was a sound that came from his very soul. The volcano of gently bubbling feelings heard it. The pool of liquid light erupted, but not with violent, scary lava. It erupted with a magnificent, silent explosion of golden light. The light shot up into the sky, taking the form of a colossal, breathtaking dragon made entirely of shimmering, warm light. This dragon of light had vast, shimmering wings and kind, glowing eyes. It circled once overhead in a magnificent, silent loop, and then it dove down, not towards the slow worm, but around him, enveloping him in a warm, brilliant hug of light. The little slow worm felt a sensation like nothing else. He felt strong. He felt magnificent. He felt the warmth of the light soaking into his scales, and for that one glorious moment, he didn't feel like a slow worm pretending to be a dragon. He felt like himself, the most brilliant version of himself, and that self felt absolutely magical. He felt the power of his own bravery, the strength of his own kindness, the fire of his own self-belief. It was better than any dream. And then, as gently as it had come, the light dissolved into 1,000 tiny sparkles that drifted down like warm glitter, fading into the night air. The volcano pool returned to its gentle, glugging rhythm. The little slow worm was still a slow worm, but he was a slow worm who stood a little taller, whose scales shone a little brighter, and whose heart burned with a new permanent fire, the fire of self-belief. The field mouse chittered in amazement, and the slow worm understood. He had not become a different creature. He had become the best possible version of himself. He had discovered that his dragon was not on the outside, but had been inside him all along, waiting to be believed into being. He had proven that the greatest magic of all was believing in your own unique strengths. He looked up at the stars, not with longing, but with contentment, knowing he was exactly who he was meant to be. And that was more than enough. It was perfect. The little slow worm made his way back home, his heart light and full. He didn't try to roar for the other creatures. Instead, he helped the ant colony move a large seed. He used his long, strong body to help a baby bird back into its nest. And with every act of kindness and every use of his own special gifts, the fire of self-belief inside him glowed brighter and warmer. He had learned the secret of the volcano. It didn't change you. It revealed you to yourself. And so our friend learned that the most powerful roar is not one that shakes the mountains, but one that comes from a heart that truly believes in itself. A heart that knows its own strength, its own kindness, and its own wonderful, unique magic. Can you feel your own magic inside you? What wonderful things do you believe you can do? What shall we learn about in our next adventure? Will we learn about being brave? Or maybe about sharing with friends? Join us next time to find out. Moral: believe in yourself and the unique strengths you already possess.